Yeah.
Well, they may, I wouldn't surprise me if they short-term, they shift some people around, because you know they have a proposal to go across the street and build another one. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're right across from
Where the Parisi and Fables is.
Some kind of miracle happens.
So that'll be interesting, but that's, you know, you don't know yet.
All right, I'd like to welcome Dave Mankiewicz and, just for your information, Crouse Marshall Assessment District, returning to the table, First District Councilor Joe Carney, our Council President Helen Hudson, Third District Councilor Sue Boyle, Councilor at Large Mike Green, Council Majority Leader Steve Thompson, Councilor at Large Tim Rudd, soon to return Fifth District Councilor Joe Driscoll, and I'll acknowledge. And we have Fourth District Councilor Latoya Allen. So Dave, if you would introduce who's here with you and then provide us an overview to start. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
This is Penny Parisi. Penny Parisi, she's our treasurer for the Crouse Marshall Business Improvement District, and Penny is the branch manager, vice president, branch manager at Key Bank. And she is obviously as the treasurer, she's a member of the board. I'm also a member of the board of the Crouse Marshall Business Improvement District. CMBID has been in existence since 2001, and what it was began when the improvements were built in Crouse Marshall. There was about $4 million worth of capital improvements in terms of sidewalks, street furniture, street trees, trash cans, benches, and other items that were built into Crouse Marshall to really deal with what up to that point had been a long-term problem of deteriorating infrastructure in the middle of the block. So at the same time that those improvements were put in order to get, at the time, the city's support for those improvements, the city wanted to make sure that there was a maintenance vehicle that was created to take care of things after the work was done. And so the Crouse Marshall Business Improvement District was created at the same time. We were built under the state's Enabling Act for BIDs, and just because they were just here, that's a little bit different than the Downtown Committee. The Downtown Committee had its own legislation, so ours was under the state's Enabling Act. And under that Enabling Act, there's a board of 16 members, and the seats are allocated on the CMBID board, and to some degree reflects the number of the different investors and the size of those investors within the district. So there are 4 seats allocated to Syracuse University, and I should point out that not-for-profit institutions pay the special assessment just as the property owners, the for-profit property owners on the street. So there were 4 seats allocated to Syracuse University, 2 seats allocated to Crouse Hospital, who also pays the assessment. There were 2 seats allocated to property owners, 2 seats allocated to business representatives. There was a seat allocated to the Sheraton University because it's also included within the district. And there are 3 seats allocated to the city of Syracuse, 1 to the mayor, 1 to the finance, the director of finance, and 1 that's allocated to the common council. And so those seats, plus the University Hill Corporation has a seat, and the Crouse Marshall Business Association has a seat. So that makes up the 16-member board. The area in which they work starts with Waverly Avenue on the north. We go about halfway down toward Irving Avenue. So if we don't get to Irving Avenue, but just to the properties that front on Crouse, but back up toward Irving, they would be within the district. It includes Marshall Street, it includes both sides of Adams Street, and it includes both sides of University Avenue that's in the 700 block of University Avenue. And so that within that district, we provide services, again, clean and safe services. So our first function is the environmental maintenance. Every day there's a person that is there picking up the trash, plowing the snow, cleaning the people who want to post bills all over light poles and taking all that sort of stuff down, painting over any graffiti, raking up leaves, all that types of functions. And we also have a security function where there is a part-time former Syracuse police officer who works downtown, works in Crouse Marshall. They work 3 days a week right now, and we can talk a little bit more about why we have a part-time officer. But those are the two major expenditures that are within the Special Assessment District's budget. We have a small marketing budget, and then our administration budget largely consists of liability insurance and the annual audits of to make sure that our finances are being correctly handled. So the program obviously is a lot smaller than the downtown committees, but is in terms of similar in terms of the types of function that it provides. And I don't know if there's anything you want to add in terms of the description or the program? Or?
No, I think to your point, it mostly has to do with the beautification and the upkeep of the area in which the college students can take over at times. So, and keeping it safe for business.
And outside of the special assessment budget, we do raise funds either through grant sources or through donations of property owners and businesses. So we run a rather robust planting program. If you go up there and you see the planters that are out on the sidewalks, we've had to hold them back so far this year. They will be out there again. We have ordered them. They're ready to go when Mother Nature is ready to go. But they will be back out again. There's about 20 planters that are placed. All that is funded through donations from the property owners and merchants who want to support that activity. And we also, we look for grant opportunities. The latest one we had was a grant through Keep America Beautiful, which was used to allow us to buy basically a street vacuum cleaner to go around and vacuum litter, to buy cigarette urns, and to run a kind of a PR campaign to try to get people to reduce the amount of litter that they would throw on the streets. So those types of, that makes up most of the rest of the funding. There's a couple of voluntary pieces where the finance and accounting is provided to us from upstate free of charge. They are not within the district, but to support the district, they take care of the books. And then there's another contribution made by a property owner of their own dumpster, which allows us to put, when we get overflow trash, which does happen, particularly when there are major events at the Carrier Dome, that allows us a place to bring the trash if the city DPW can't keep up with it. So we just keep moving it to that dumpster when we need to.
Can I ask a quick question on that dumpster issue? So you said if there's an event at the Carrier Dome, so you don't have privy to use SU's dumpsters?
SU doesn't do that. Of course, they take care of their side. They take care of their side of the street, and they are paying the special assessment. But the dumpster is like right there. That's really, it's a great advantage. I mean, it's right behind the varsity, so it's very easy for us to go back there and use it, as opposed to having to haul it somewhere to whatever SU's closest one would be.
Okay. I only have one question, actually. I don't know if Crouse Marshall, if there's an existing relationship with the city arborist. I've gotten a few, concerns, complaints from merchants on Marshall about the trees, and the trees tend to block their signs, and people can't find their stores. And they reach out to us asking us, can we cut them down, if the arborist can cut them down, and and that's probably not going to happen. But at the least, wanted to put it on your radar. But see what your thoughts are in that respect.
Well, there's a couple of things. Yes, we do have a relationship with the city arborist, and he comes up and he usually judges the health of trees. So if there's a tree that's failing, he'll be the one that says this one can go or be replaced. In a district like that, that's always a challenge because the public wants shade. I mean, it makes it a more pleasant place to be. It's green. It's the right thing to do. Merchants, of course, want to make sure that you can see their signs as they're going by. They want you to see their wares. Let's face it, it's a retail district. And so we prune the trees on a regular basis. We will cut them back to make sure that they don't get into the buildings, and we do raise the base, but we have to, I would not recommend removing the trees. And quite frankly, many of them are very healthy. I understand where that comes from. It's some of those trees are well established. They've been there 15 years now, and they're doing really well. So I understand it. We'll keep after them in terms of pruning, but we probably won't remove them.
We won't remove them. Any councilors have any questions?
I got one question. I just, obviously you haven't been cutting back on environmental maintenance, so I just was wondering if you could explain in your budget how environmental maintenance went down so much. It went, well, 14,000. It's been $13,000 or $14,000 annually, and this year it's $9,000. So I don't know if that is a grant
yes.
or.
A part of it's usually in terms of how we allocate the dollars between special assessments and contributions that we get. But the one of the pieces that we have is a 50-50 program with the city of Syracuse. And under that program, and we just re-entered into another 5-year contract with the city, when anything needs to be repaired or it needs to be replaced, we have a source of funding where we actually split the cost with the city. So if, you know, it'll happen all the time, trash cans will get damaged, we'll replace them, we'll buy new ones, and then the city will reimburse 50% of the cost. The maximum amount that we can use in any year under that program is $25,000. So what usually happens is the city and the downtown city and the Crouse Marshall Business Improvement District can work towards splitting $12,500 apiece to do that work. But as the pressures have risen on us cost-wise, that is one of the pieces that we've had to cut back. That's not a, that's not a good idea. We have to do it because we have to bring you a balanced budget. But it's not a good idea, particularly some of the infrastructure is aging. And so that's not what we want to do. The property owners on Crouse Marshall have wanted, to the best of our ability, to keep the special assessment at it was originally established to $75,000. We have never raised that special assessment. What we're doing is anticipating next year, as you all know, the Marshall is now under construction within the district. It is the first new building to be built within the district since the time the district was created. When the new building comes in, it brings a whole additional growth in special assessment. And, you know, I'll just say the board is contemplating coming to the council next year and asking for an increase, because that's the time to do it. When there's a new building on, then the assessments for everybody else will basically stay the same, and the new building's assessment comes in. Otherwise, all the assessments would drop.
So that kind of brings me to my second question, which was regarding the 50-50, because that's also gone down, and you said that was up to $25,000?
$25,000 total,
Should be like
12,500 from
5.
each.
But it's only 2,000, and it's only been 4,000 in the past 3 years.
Right, and we've had to drop it because in order to bring you a balanced budget, that was one of the items that the board has cut back.
It seems like a strange thing to cut back, isn't it, when you're getting a match?
It is not what we want to do, it's what we've had to do. The other thing we've had to do is cut back security. That was a full-time program. And this is just the impacts of inflation over 15 years, what basically has happened in terms of our buying dollar, and that's why we want to, we thought a lot about coming in and asking for an assessment increase this year, but held back because we know the better time to do it is when a new property is added to the district. And then there'll be another new one right after that because the NBRC is starting under construction, and that's also in the district.
And another new one with the project at Parisi.
There may be another new one.
Anyone else? No? Councilors? Anybody? No pauses like.
In practice, the assessed values in your district have to go up though, right? So have the valuations gone down, or have they really been stagnant over an extended period of time? Most of the city goes up in value, even 1%.
Yeah, I'm sure the value's gone up a little bit, but there's been nothing new added. You know, The difference is downtown, obviously, there's been a lot of new buildings added and built on vacant sites or parcels that have raised the overall level of assessment substantially. That hasn't happened on Crouse Marshall. This is the first one that will make a significant difference in how much assessed valuation is there. So that's why we've waited for that. I don't think if we looked at them, I don't think you'd find those assessments have increased a lot over the last few years.
David, when is it supposed to be complete? Because I was looking for something this year.
Yes.
Actually, to say that this is going to really impact the area. You mean?
Yes.
Not only for the driving of the assessment, but I mean, this is going to impact, you're going to have a different
Increased
population,
crowd, right.
an
Yes.
additional population up there that you haven't had in the past.
Right.
Um, for both the cleaning and the security and whatnot. And I would have to imagine that some of it now is going to be driven toward the evening hours too,
That is another concern
versus
because,
just
yes,
the daytime business hours.
yes.
Do you have a template or something that you're, and why, and what do you see?
Well, the building itself is not going to be completed until August of 2018. And so it's not going to hit fully on the assessment rolls until January 1 of 2019. So as I understand it, if we raised it this year, that we have to wait till next year, till the building is done and fully on the assessment rolls in order to do it. So that's why, yeah, we kind of hoping the same thing, but we held back on that. And you're right. While there is a lot of activity on Crouse Marshall at night, this is going to be a significant increase again in the number of students that will be living there. And there's 275 beds that are in that project, so we expect that number of residents. And then again, there's another project that may be in the offing that will be even more, will generate more nighttime activity than that. So it is a concern to us because, as you know, Steve, during the day, the typical security issue tends to be around panhandling, you know, shoplifting. It's not the big seven of the crimes. At night, there's been several significant incidents over the last year that has been a great concern to ours. And SPD and DPS have both been doing joint patrols and other things to try to calm that situation down. And given the nature of what it is, that's something that always belongs to SPD. I mean, our job is to try to be out there, you know, this prevention and to be a community policing function, not a really hard policing function. But that is a great concern to us, particularly given the number of new residents that are moving in there. I think that's a situation that needs to be resolved.
All set?
Yes, I'm a little confused because we're still over in this corner whispering. So I'm just going to put it back out here again. So if you can treat me with children's gloves right now. I'm looking at, you said the maximum reimbursement from the city was the 12.5.
That's correct.
So I'm looking at the line and it never showed the 12.5.
No, we haven't been able to do that probably in 5 years.
Okay, so this 4,000 was the only thing that
Right.
you were able to
And realize not every year do you need $25,000 worth of repairs. I don't, that's the number, and on occasion we have hit that number. But you don't need it every year. Some years you might need 12,000 total and it'll be 6.6. Last year I think we only did 8,000, and that's, I just want to highlight the fact that it's not like we're letting things go, we're addressing them. Realistically, that policy is not a good idea. The board acknowledges that going forward. As things age, we're going to have and increasing back up to probably the higher numbers that are in that agreement.
Okay, well, you
So
answered it for me when you
ultimately,
said it, wouldn't it? Okay.
yeah, ultimately, that's where we want to go. We just decided that we should probably put that off for 1 year until we had a better situation to come in where we could ask for an increase in the assessment without raising individual properties assessments.
And we like it to go down anyway.
Okay.
All right, if there's no more questions, we almost caught up with the time. Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.